plan was that he was going to pick her up in the early hours of the Saturday morning.
He later tells friends that he took the opportunity to take pictures of the heavy snow that Britain was experiencing. At the Ram, Joanna shares a carefree, seasonal evening. As ever, she's in demand, the life and soul of the party.
Everyone that knew Jo absolutely loved her. She was just full of life and energy.
After a couple of hours, she prepares to leave. In the basement flat, which is adjacent to hers, Vincent Tabak is eating a pizza, drinking a beer. He sends a text to his girlfriend. Joanna heads off to pick up her supper, stopping first at Waitrose, but doesn't buy anything. She pops into a shop to buy 2 bottles of cider. Later, these mundane details, captured forever on camera, will become vitally important as police piece together events. At 20 to 9, she's in Tesco's, where coincidentally, she also buys a pizza. Between 8:45 and 8:50, Jo is in her flat, preparing her supper. Later that evening, Vincent Tabak is in a supermarket where he texts his girlfriend. He makes a point of telling her that he's missing her loads. It's boring without you.
He formed an intention at some stage in that evening to go out to Asda. I frankly found that a bit weird. And he bought 1 or 2 items of some rock salt. Asda was in Bedminster. It's a car drive away from the flat. There are plenty of shops in Clifton. If you needed to pop out for something, I would have expected somebody to go locally, especially given the weather conditions.
Returning home, he goes onto the web. Now alone, he checks his work emails and returns to a world others do not know he inhabits. A world of pornography.
Clearly, if you scrape beneath the surface, there was something about Vincent Tabak and his character and what he enjoyed viewing and doing that other people weren't aware of.
He was looking at sites of violent pornography, the degrading of women, often sort of sadomasochistic practices, including strangulation.
We also know that when he was away from home, when he was in America and on a trip that he had in Newcastle, that he looked for escorts. That Friday evening, he was alone.
Under the same roof, a landlord and 2 tenants who could not have been more different. The bookish academic, the bubbly landscape architect, and the young professional who leads an online life obsessed with violent sex, something he keeps very secret. The 3 lives are about to become inextricably and tragically linked. Greg Reardon is with family in Sheffield trying to get in touch with his girlfriend, Joanna Yeates.
Now, over the weekend, he tried to contact her. He tried to text her. He sent text messages to her. He also rang her number and he rang the landline and hadn't got any response.
Greg grows worried. It's unusual for Joanna not to keep in touch. He travels back to Bristol and encounters an empty flat.
When Greg got back to the flat on the Sunday, Jo wasn't there, and he tried to contact her. He heard her phone ringing in her jacket pocket, and I suspect that was probably the start of his nightmare.
The mobile phone went quite near midnight and Greg's name flashed up on it, which I thought was unusual. And then he said, "Is Jo with you?" And we said, "Well, no, why would she be with us?" And then he said, "Well, all her belongings are here, her purse, her keys and things like that."
I got up on the Monday morning, noticed that I had a missed call on my phone from Greg at about 12:30 on the Sunday, so that was very, very unusual.
There was no rationale to it. And so we decided then that we'd drive down to Bristol and we asked Greg to phone the police immediately.
And in the early hours of the following morning, as far as I can remember, he made the phone call to the police to say that his partner Joe was missing.
Greg had already gone through the bag that she used to carry around and found Joe's wallet, glasses, everything really. The only thing of Joe's which wasn't in the flat was Joe herself.
What particularly strikes Joe's mum Teresa when she arrives at the flat is a receipt which tells her that Joe had bought a pizza earlier in the night.
But there was no evidence of the pizza in the flat. There was no packaging. And the fact that her boots were left in the flat, and her coat was there, her keys, her purse, her phone. So you already started to think there's something not right with this, and this could be a criminal investigation. Something has happened to Joe.
Joe's mum frantically searches the neighbourhood.
We walked around the block just to sort of looking over walls to see either the pizza or something to do with Joe or her clothes. And I remember sort of banging on boots of cars as well, just in case she'd been abducted and locked in. I mean, I knew there'd be no hope because it was so cold, but it's just not knowing what to do.
It was bitterly cold, temperatures well below zero. At the house, signs of people who've walked on the lawn. Vincent Tabak and his girlfriend.
I noticed these footprints going diagonally across the lawn, and I wondered where these came from. And I saw these two people, a shorter person and a taller person, walking along the same path, and I thought, they must have been the ones that caused it. As I was going to the flat, it stopped, and the smaller person was Tanya, and she asked if she could help. And the man stood well back away from things, didn't say anything.
The police quickly sensed the seriousness of events.
In the case of Joe, it was highly unusual. She hadn't done this before. There didn't appear to be any personal issues that she had that would mean that she would walk away from home and not tell anybody. She wasn't on any medication of any sort. She didn't have any mental health issues. She didn't have a history of depression. So all of the indicators that sometimes would cause somebody to leave home weren't there. So very early on,